Hi, Tony DeWitt here, Missouri appellate attorney and a guy who likes to make the law make sense on YouTube. Today we're going to talk about the First Amendment and about people who audit other people on the First Amendment. This should be a simple discussion, but I can assure you that the comments will be legend. I'll have more in just a moment. Other than the sovereign citizen, there is almost no one more radical in their belief system than First Amendment auditors. Now, two things can be true at the same time, right? You can support the First Amendment and at the same time respect private property. And just because the government owns a piece of property doesn't mean you have the right to go there and do anything you want. The First Amendment doesn't guarantee that right. It guarantees your right to peaceably assemble. It guarantees your right to petition the government for redress of grievances, and it protects freedom of the press and freedom of speech. But it does not give you a blank check to run around sticking a camera in people's faces and expecting nothing to happen. So, if you were to go and one of the terms that you can use on YouTube to search for these videos is frauditor or First Amendment auditor, you would find a number of videos where people walk into post offices. Now, that's especially stupid given the fact that, going postal is sort of a metaphor for people losing their temper. But be that as it may, they run into these post office and they photograph everybody, and, not everybody wants to be photographed. Now, again, two things can be true at the same time, right? One is that you have absolute right to photograph people in public, as long as you are not trespassing at the time that you are doing it. So, just because I really don't like to have my photo taken doesn't mean I can stop someone else from taking my photo if I'm out on the street. If I'm out on the street, I'm fair game. There's no expectation of privacy on a city street. That's just the way the world works. Unfortunately, a lot of these people seem to have missed a basic class in their high school education on common courtesy. In fact, courtesy has become so uncommon that we really ought to call it uncommon courtesy, because these people run up and shove cameras in people's faces with the idea that they can provoke a reaction. And of course, the reaction that is most often provoked is the police show up. And the police show up and they say, look, you can't film in here in the post office. The postmaster has asked you to leave. And that's when this ridiculous idea that because the government owns the building, you have free access to it. If the government owned property and you could go on it anytime you wanted to, then there would be no gate and no fence up around any of the forts in the United States or any of the air bases in the United States. I guarantee you, if you decide to apply this strategy to Area 51, you will find yourself in handcuffs, if not receiving treatment for other injuries. You can't trespass on government land any more than you can trespass on private property. And so while I can stand out on the street and film my neighbor in their house through their window, if their window is open and they can't do much about that, that's my First Amendment right. The fact that I am a courteous individual who would not intrude into the privacy of my neighbors because they inadvertently left a window open or a window shade undrawn, that is something that should be respected. We should respect people's privacy. The First Amendment is not a blank check to be a jerk. The First Amendment is a check on government power. It says the government can't come down and say, you can't publish a video about people having large feet or any other subject. You can't publish a video on X, Y, or Z. That's what the First Amendment is designed to protect. It's a check on governmental power. It's a check on the government's power to tell the free press what they can print. If you want to run a story that says something bad about the president, the vice president, or the last president, you have an absolute First Amendment right to do that, as long as it's truthful. But just because you have the right to do something doesn't always mean you have a good reason to do something. And that is, I think, what First Amendment auditors never seem to get. Now, when the police come, they never arrest these people for filming. What they arrest them for is either trespassing or violating a lawful order. And I recently saw someone in the comments say, well, police use officer safety as just this broad brush that they can paint with to deny people their rights. And maybe that's true in certain instances, but I can tell you this much, as I said before, it is the bystander who gets shot. It is the bystander who gets wounded in situations where people start acting crazy with guns. And anytime a police officer is making a traffic stop, he doesn't know whether he's stopping a nice little old lady or somebody who's wanted on 16 counts of murder in Philadelphia. So he has to be careful, and he doesn't need to have his attention divided. So yeah, you can film it from 25 feet away or 15 or 50 feet away, far enough away that you're not going to distract the officer. But unfortunately, what a lot of these people do is they work on distracting the officer. It's almost like that line from the Don Henley song about get the widow on the set. We want dirty laundry. They would love to have the ability to capture a shooting of a police officer or a police officer shooting back at someone else. That's sort of what I think some of these people actually live for. And if you look at some of the auditor videos where they run around in black ninja clothing carrying rifle bags, and of course the rifle bag doesn't have a rifle in it, it has a tripod in it, but it's impossible to tell that when you're looking at it from the outside, and they draw a police response, they whine and cry about police behavior, but they ought to be looking at their own behavior. So that's my take on the First Amendment auditor. If you have any questions or if you desire to discuss this further, please leave something for me down in the comments. You know the things that every YouTuber asks you to do: like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, post it on Facebook, whatever it is that you want to do. We love to have the exposure. The channel has grown quite a bit thanks to all of you, and I'm very grateful to you for that. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on here next time. If you like this video, here are a few others you might try, and don't forget to subscribe. Have a terrific day, guys.